Welcome to That's Joy, the podcast. I'm your host, Cece Calbanero, and I'll be sharing stories of miracles, God moments, and unpacking the truth behind what joy truly means. My friend, when God gives you a direct call on your life, be sure to answer it. Here's to answering my call together. Hello, and welcome back to That's Joy, the podcast. I am your host, Cece, and I am thrilled to have you here today. It's a brand new week. It's a brand new month, and holy moly, I don't know how we made it here this fast, but it is the last month of the year. If you're watching this on YouTube, welcome. My Christmas tree is back here, but this isn't new. It's been up for a month now. I was that girl who put it up the moment Halloween ended, and I have no regrets because I've gotten to soak up all the joy that these twinkly lights have brought me in the last month, and I'm eager to continue to do that through the month of December. Y'all, I am ending the year a little bit different compared to how I have ever done podcasting before. And I was really thinking about how I want to end the year with you guys. A part of me, if I'm being honest, was like, you know what? It's time to just take a break and do no episodes. And the other part of me was like, man, for the handful of girlies who tell me their stories about how much they look forward to a Monday because of That's Joy, I can't not put anything out. You know what I mean? So these next 4 episodes in the month of December are going to be a little bit different. I have a lot that's going on in the background of my life that I'm not going to share with y'all quite yet, but just know there's a lot. There's a lot stirring that is going to be shared at the top of 2024. And man, I'm so excited to share all of that with you. But I do feel called that right now it's supposed to remain in the hiding place with the Lord and me. And so, yeah, not going to share that yet. But I did want to make sure that I can put something out on this podcast platform and show that still would be of value to you, but then allow me to lean into God's rest in this season at the same time. And as I was praying into that, knowing very much that that's how I wanted the year to end, I quickly remembered this book. I'm holding up this book for all of the peeps who are watching on YouTube. By the way, yes, I am doing my best to release videos on YouTube that go hand in hand with every episode of That's Joy. We haven't executed every single one yet. There are some challenges that I'm sure you would understand when it comes to technology and syncing and losing data, just the nature of the game. But what I'm going to do is continue to try to show up as my best week after week. And so this is on YouTube. These mini episodes are on YouTube, and I got to get going because if it's going to be mini, I got to be shorter. So every week, the joyful noise is going to be this month, y'all. We get to celebrate Jesus, and we get to remember the reason for the season. I know that so many of us hear that so often, and we're like, oh, that's so cheesy. But truly, we've got to keep the main thing this month because we get to be the light of Jesus everywhere that we go. And whether that's in the malls, in the parking lots, in the coffee shops, I mean, heck, I am a Starbucks girl running it through and through so many times because this sugar cookie syrup has a grip on me. And for those of y'all who love Starbucks too, I recently cannot stop the grande shaken espresso with almond milk and 2 pumps of sugar cookie syrup. I was going to say sugar-free, not sugar-free, but delicious. And I believe that order with only 2 pumps is about 70 to 80 calories. So for all my girlies watching it, get that drink because you could still get your holiday moment. Anyhow, back to this book, Cece. Hello. This is called The Relationship Principles of Jesus by Tom Holladay. Now, if you've been hanging around here at That's Joy for any stretch of time, I have mentioned this book so many times throughout this year. I believe it was back in March when I read this for the first time, and I'm telling you, breakthrough, chains falling, and reconciliation happened in my life after completing this book. And I'm so, so grateful for the knowledge that this book has equipped me with. And I thought, man, if I can do anything with this beautiful community that we have so graciously cultivated over the last almost 2 years, I would want nothing more than to be able to transfer everything that has happened to me through reading this to you. And so over these next 4 weeks, with this one being week 1, I'm just going to read the first 3 chapters of this book week by week. So today we are going to read day 1, and it's not necessarily chapters even. This book is built over the course of 40 days. So you read it over 40 days and you watch your life transform. But here's the catch. I want to read day 1, quote unquote, on this episode, and then day 2, quote unquote, on next week's episode, day 3 on the following week's episode, and then day 4 as the last Monday in December. But I don't want to stop there with y'all. What I want so much to do is to see your faces. That's right. In 2024, I'm ready to build community with y'all, and I want to know you, like quite literally know you. So I have been praying into this a bit more and just been like, okay, it's time to see these people face to face. And that may not look like IRL situation in real life, but we'll start with Zoom. And so in January, I will be putting together a group of women. I'm sorry, guys, this is going to be exclusive to women for this one, where we will be reading this book together from the top, day 1 through day 40. And in addition to the book reading, we're also going to be an accountability group. We're going to choose goals and things that we are working towards to build the life that we say that we want. And then that third component will be a nutrition component. And I don't have all the details shaken out quite yet. So the best thing that you can do is, 1, take these next few minutes to just soak in the words that I share from this day 1 reading. And then immediately after that, 2, sign up to be on the Joy Corner newsletter. That's right. That's my weekly newsletter, where I will be sharing more information on how you can hold your spot for this little group that we are going to put together. So more details on that at the end of the episode. But for those of the peeps that are ready to dive in, that's what we're doing. That is what we're doing on this December day. Hello, December. All right. These days, by the way, in the relationship principles of Jesus, they're not long. So my hope in this is, whether you're walking on the treadmill hitting your steps right now, or you are in the car on your way to work, or you're walking to your next class, or you're folding laundry, I really hope that even though it's me reading it and you not picking up the book and reading it with me, I hope that these words would penetrate. And more than that, I hope that they challenge you, because I'm not your comfortable friend. I want to be the friend that continues to challenge you and poke all of the aspects that's going to allow you to grow into who God's called you to be. So, the first day of the relationship principles of Jesus. I love this so much because I have my coffee and I feel like we're just hanging out on the couch. So here it goes. It's called Nothing is More Important Than Relationships. Relationships are painful. Relationships are wonderful. We all live in the drama that plays out between these 2 truths. I think of Neil and Robin when I think of the drama of relationships. Married for only a few years, their life together had started strong. And then, with a suddenness that tore their world apart, Robin suffered a brain hemorrhage. As I sat with Neil in the waiting room on the night it happened, we heard the doctor speak in hushed tones about the high-risk surgery and low odds of success. Even if Robin were to survive the surgery, she would likely be in a semi-conscious state for the rest of her life. Neil's immediate response was simple faith and sacrificial love. He believed that God had a plan even in this dire circumstance, and Neil was committed to love Robin no matter what it would take. Robin survived the surgery, and Neil kept his commitment to love. Day after day, he sat with Robin and spoke to her and nurtured her. Little by little, he loved her to unexpected restoration. Robin learned to speak haltingly and began to be able to use her hands and arms again. She has even taken a few victorious steps on her own. Almost every weekend at church, there they are. Neil, a shining example of overcoming love, and Robin, a powerful example of overwhelming courage and faith. Robin sometimes wonders just what she can accomplish for God in a wheelchair. The truth is, she speaks a life-changing sermon on the power of love by her mere presence. Those who have been involved in Robin's care see her life as a miracle. The greatest miracle, they say, isn't in the healing. They've seen bodies healed before, but in the love. This is the love of a couple who made the choice to continue to love even in the most crushing of circumstances. Neil having chosen to practice sacrificial love in a marriage that wasn't close to what he and Robin had dreamed it would be, and Robin having chosen to accept and return Neil's love rather than allowing her own hurt to push him away. Relationships are filled with both wonder and pain. When I think of the pain of relationships, literally hundreds of pictures flood into my mind from my 30s as a pastor. And bullets. A couple on the verge of a divorce, neither one wants, yet both are choosing. Parents who can't get through to their child, no matter how much time, money, and heartache they invest. A son whose dad has treated him with the cruel contempt of abuse. A friend whose feeling of betrayal is so deep that she never wants to trust anyone again. When I consider the wonder of relationships, I am equally overwhelmed. In bullets, a marriage no one thought could be restored, but it was. Friendships in a small group that have become the bedrock of life. A family that would surely fall apart when the pressure of an illness hit, and yet they all came together in the most amazing way. When Jesus came to this earth, he demonstrated that he understands both the wonder and the pain of your relationships. He experienced them both. He came to begin a new relationship within you, a relationship that will strengthen all your relationships. Jesus came to show you how to enjoy a new way of relating to God and to others. For these next 40 days, we're going to focus on what Jesus did and what Jesus taught about relationships. Each week, we will focus on one of 6 basic principles of relationships with Jesus. Where do we begin? We begin our journey with Jesus teaching about priorities. Here's the truth Jesus taught us. Nothing is more important than relationships. I don't remember the time or place or the conference, but the question the moderator asked has stuck in my mind. What I recall most vividly is the answer that immediately flashed into my thoughts. Here's the question. Suppose you're in a rubber life raft with a friend. You're approaching an island. The raft is leaking and you are within sight of land. In the raft with you are a set of signal flares, a week's supply of canned food, and a 5-gallon container of water. You must throw one of these items overboard if you're going to make it to the island. Which one do you choose? I have to admit, the first answer that hit me was the friend. Now, don't sit there with the PS, I've never thought anything like that. Look, this silly thought that leaped into my mind was a reminder of how easy it is to value things over people. And who among us hasn't struggled with that feeling? Priorities become most important when we must make choices. If we had enough time to do everything could be a priority, but we don't have enough time to do everything. If we had the power to do every good thing we wanted to do, our choices wouldn't be so important. But we can't do every good thing we want to do. When Jesus spoke about the priority of relationships, he could not have been clearer. He taught that relationships must be given the highest of values. And thankfully, he also taught us how to give our relationships the highest value. Experience the truth. Throughout this book, we will come back again and again to experiences from the life of Jesus. I encourage you to allow these stories from the Gospels to draw you in. These relationship events from Jesus' life provide an opportunity to learn from the relationship expert. Consider what it would be like to be a witness to the things Jesus taught and did. As you read this experience from the life of Jesus, put yourself there in the crowd with Jesus on that day long ago. Experience the truth. One of the most noticeable things about Jesus' interactions with others is how people love to ask him questions. Crowds press in with questions. Jesus' disciples call him aside for questions, and those who disagree with Jesus try to trap him with questions. It's easy to dislike this third group, and it often seems as though Jesus is wasting his time when talking with them. Doesn't he know that their questions are just thinly veiled attempts to trick him into saying something they can use to accuse him? Yet he patiently listens to their questions and he answers them one by one. This day, the questions are coming fast and furious. One group asks a question about paying taxes. Another group launches into a series of questions about marriage. Jesus' answers are brilliant and right to the heart, as always, but it seems that maybe it's time to move on and to talk to some who are more open to what he has to say. Then a teacher from the edge of the crowd asks a question with a slightly different tone. There seems to be a genuineness to his question, not heard from the others. He simply asks, of all the commandments, which is the most important? And Jesus' answer is the most important statement about relationships you'll ever hear. As Jesus speaks, he leaves no doubt as to the value he places on relationships. The most important commandment is this: love the Lord God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself, based on Mark 12, verses 28 through 34. Jesus' simple, clear answer to this question has the power to take our breath away. By choosing these two commandments as the most important of all the Old Testament commandments, Jesus tells us how deeply he values relationships. He values our relationship with God. He values our relationships with each other. Lesson 1 in Jesus' teaching about relationships is simply this: nothing is more important than relationships. From beginning to end, nothing is more important than relationships. In the beginning, God created you for relationships. He made you to relate to him and to others. Miss out on relationships, and you're missing the core reason for which God put you on this planet. And in the end, nothing is more important, because nothing will last longer than relationships. Your relationships with God and others will last all the way into eternity. Jesus knows full well that the swirling wonder and pain of our relationships tempt us to move them down our priority list. Who needs this, we say, and so reduce our lives to simple hobbies, tasks, and entertainments. That's not the answer. When I try to make less important that which is truly most important, it only causes more confusion. A life without relationships may well be a simpler life, but it is also an empty life. The path to the greatest life possible and the greatest joy possible is found in the priority that Jesus taught us to keep at the top of the list. Place the highest value on relationships. And then it ends with a little thing to ponder on. It's a little recap right here I'm showing on the YouTube video, but it says, point to ponder. Place the highest value on relationships. A verse to remember. The most important commandment, answered Jesus, is this: love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind and all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. Question to consider: have I asked Jesus if what I'm doing is what's most important? Have I asked Jesus if what I'm doing is most important? Friends, that concludes day 1 of the relationship principles of Jesus. And as I was reading that, I'm immediately stirred again. I read this already, but I forgot. Because whatever we forget is something that we've pushed to the side as something that we're not consciously taking time to remember. And in this month of December, the month that we get to celebrate Christmas, I want us to realign our vision and to realign our perspective and put it back on Him. so that we can keep the main thing, and make sure that we are celebrating with purpose. And I believe that purpose surrounds us every single day, and it's people. It's people, it's people, it's people. I can't tell you enough how much people have influenced all of my life, but even more specifically, I can't wait to share on episodes in 2024 how much people have shaped this chapter that I'm walking in right now. I am so grateful, and I hope that you'd continue to join me. I know this is a little bit different than what I typically share, but like I said at the top of the episode, I do believe that, friends, this is just going to be the foundation and lay the groundwork to what we will do together in 2024. And so if you liked that excerpt of day one, would you just so graciously hop on Amazon? I'll put my link in the show notes below, but order this book now. And if you wanted to start reading it now, you can do that. But I love for you to hold on to this book and join me at the top of 2024 with a group of people to read through this together, to join in accountability together, and to really commit to utilizing all that we learned in 2023, and then do that application piece that I always talk about. All right, knowledge is great, but now how do we apply that knowledge to our lives? That's what this book and January will be together. If there is a certain part of that reading that you really like that could potentially even be a future episode, or if you have questions on this and want to know more, shoot me a text to 615-813-4813 and let's get those questions answered. If you're interested in this January accountability group, book club, joy group that I am putting together, the best way that you can stay plugged in with details on when I share what's next or next steps is by joining the Joy Corner. The Joy Corner is my weekly email newsletter, and I will be sharing more information in that newsletter every week leading up to January, so that you can stay in the know. And if you're not yet following me on social, you should definitely do that. You can follow me at CCALBONERO on Instagram and on TikTok, and you can follow That's Joy the Podcast on there as well. Friends, if you have not yet subscribed, rated, or left a review for That's Joy, that is the biggest Christmas gift that you can give me and this platform and all that God is doing through That's Joy. I know it seems like such a small thing that I say week after week, but I can't tell you how much it actually impacts me as a podcaster and the opportunities at hand when those numbers rise. And it's just the nature of the field. And so if you took 2 minutes in this month of December to hop over to Apple Podcasts, even if you don't listen to Apple, it still would mean so much if you wrote in a review there, because those reviews go miles and miles beyond what you'd even think. And then if you listen on Spotify, you can hit the 5-star button on Spotify. And by the way, shout out to all of y'all who have posted and tagged me in your Spotify wraps. The amount of people that have had That's Joy in their top 5, if not top podcast of the year, blows me away. I don't even know how to fully convey just my understanding of that, or even that I have grown to understand that, because honestly, it's all just so beyond me. And thank God, because CC is not enough to drive this boat, but Jesus and CC could do a lot. So there's that. I'll never leave an episode without saying, if you have even the smallest desire to meet the creator of the universe, or if you've already been saved but you're not really free, I want to invite you to sit at the table of plenty with me and so many others. I'm telling you, there's an abundance here. There's an overflow here, and there's so much joy here. I'm here to tell you that God's for you. All you have to do is invite him into your heart right now. He's waiting for you. He wants to meet with you. And friend, I'm so proud of you. If you just made this decision, I'd love to know you. Shoot me a text to that number in the show notes so I could pray for you. I love you. God loves you. Jesus loves you. And until next time, I'll talk to y'all next time. Thank you so much for being here.